So these are the books that I read in 2019, the books that I can remember. I have to go to the library to actually like walk the aisles and make sure I'm not forgetting any books. But some books that I read, LeBron Inc. It's a book about LeBron James, obviously, and how he sets his business up off the field. The most important thing to know about that book is that he has a partner named Paul Watcher. Paul Watcher, one of the most powerful people. You will never hear their name spoken on television, but probably has a hand in all of it. Paul Watcher. Capital Gains, that's the Chip Gaines book. The most important thing about that book is Chip Gaines is an idiot, and somehow he makes money, and somehow he got Joanna Gaines. So I have my own personal thoughts on that. I'm going to keep them to myself because once I take this channel down that road, it'll become that type of channel. I don't want to offend anybody, but have my ideas as to why Chip Gaines was able to just flow through life having no intellectual capacity at all. But to keep it positive, at least his wife knows what she's doing. The Power of Habit, that's a great book. Talks a lot about why we do things that we do and how to change things and how to just kind of get the end result you want by performing the correct actions at the correct times and overriding certain habits that you have and certain actions that you do, overriding those and replacing things. Very, very good book. I listened to it on audiobook. I also had read it too. So a lot of times I'll read a book and listen to the audio. I'm weird like that. But sometimes I just like to feel the pages. I don't know why. I'm one of those people. How to Get Rich. I read that for the third time. I've probably read How to Get Rich multiple times. Just the third time I read it cover to cover, and I read it this time I read it cover to cover in one sitting. Sat down and read it. I took notes on the book, so I don't even have to really sit down and read the actual book. But Felix Dennis is dead, so there's no possible way for me to ever have him as a mentor. But I feel like he's my mentor in spirit. Like reading his book, a lot of the things he preaches are things that I always knew were true about life and business. A lot of his philosophies line up with mine. And like I said, I can't have a conversation with him, unfortunately. So I have to get that mentorship through the books, through the knowledge that he left behind. And I'm just a huge Felix Dennis fan. Like, this is a guy who basically told you, I'm going to win the game, and I'm not taking any prisoners. And my life is about me. It's about my happiness. It's about me getting rich. It's about me doing this. But he also gave a lot of money away. He also did a lot for the world as well. He planted a lot of trees, and there's Dennis parks all over England. So he did a lot for the community as well. But that's just the guy who had his vision, and he was going to fulfill it, and he lived his life to the max. And I fully support that. And if you care about money, you need to read that book. You know what other book I read that's not on this list? I read DJ Khaled, The Keys. That's the book that's not on this list. I don't know how it just came to me. DJ Khaled, The Keys. I also read that book. I didn't really like it, but I like Khaled. But the reason why I don't like the book is how it's written. If you ever read that book, you understand, like, it's basically praising Khaled, the whole book. But I do like the fact that Khaled had very humble beginnings working in the mall. He was there when Wayne and Baby met for the first time. People don't know that. Like, the dude really muscled his way in the industry. He had a lot of setbacks. He took a lot of L's, and Khaled just kept going, and I really respect Khaled's grind and the fact that he is very honest about the L's that he took, and everything in his life wasn't perfect. Even Khaled getting famous was really about him taking an L on that jet ski and him documenting it to the world. So shout out to Khaled and The Keys. That should have been on this list because I did read that book, and I don't know why I was like, there's another book that should be on here. That's the book that should be on there. All right, The Snowball. I read that book. That took a long time. That is the Warren Buffett book. Now, the most important thing about that book is that Warren Buffett's father, Howard Buffett, was in politics. People don't know that. So that's kind of how Warren Buffett had a little mini advantage in the time period in which he was born. So his father's in politics, and he's born in this time period where the stock market does not exist yet when he's coming into knowledge of money. So he literally had to go into people's houses and knock on the door and ask, can he buy the stock from their, junk drawer? And people would sell it to him. He went, like, there was like a farmers union or whatever. What was it? What is that company's? I think it's Farmers Insurance. He literally went to people's houses and bought the stock. And I mean, that just shows you that grind, and also shows you the kind of like, he came up in the perfect time period to do what he did, and it can't be replicated in today's time. So Warren Buffett is just an interesting story. You could take what you want to take from it and leave what you want to leave, but trying to replicate what he did, it's not very possible. And the scheme he kind of has going with his companies, with Berkshire Hathaway, is basically the company pays him, then he takes the cash that like, if you're a member of Berkshire Hathaway, or back how it used to work, you had to pay these monthly fees. He would take the fees to cash and buy more shares of Berkshire Hathaway, and basically use people's own money to buy them out, thus making him richer, and then investing the money into these insurance companies, which he calls banks, that you can't withdraw from. So he invests in insurance companies because insurance companies have float, meaning that the fees you pay every month for insurance, you can't ever withdraw those unless you have a claim. And back in the day, they used to make it really hard for you to get claims. So they just have all this money sitting around, and he would use that money to invest in other companies. And then, as you see, the snowball happens. So that's kind of how he got rich. I'm not even sure you can do all that. And he took a major L with the American Express stuff, but he bounced back from that. And Warren Buffett is just a huge, a huge champion of long term. Like Felix Dennis is more short term, mid term. Like, get it, go, 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 go. You don't know how long you're gonna live. Go get rich now, grind. And Warren Buffett's like, oh, just take your time. Let it snowball. So good books to read. Both are good books to read, but people just assume that Warren Buffett, is just this genius, and he's really not really even. I wouldn't say he's not that smart. He's very smart about what he knows, and then he knows that he doesn't know what he doesn't know. So, and I could be talking about that book all day, because he's just a kind of a quirky guy. Because the book is not written by him. It's not written by him. So it's actually the closest thing you'll ever get to an autobiography, but he doesn't have much say in the book. He just kind of just let the woman just observe him and speak to all his people, but no, he didn't sit down and pen not one word of that. So, but he did have, he did give permission for the woman to get her information to write the book. Very weird, very quirky guy. Tony Robbins Mastery, I don't really like that. I don't really like any of the Tony Robbins products I listened to. I read/listened to Mastery and Live with Passion. The most important thing from those two books is that, I would say, for Tony Robbins is a big proponent on not getting angry over small stuff and just letting it build up, which is one of my biggest problems in life, and I still have that problem. But Tony Robbins is always like, you got to be happy that you even have a life and all this stuff. And it's like, man, dude, when you just live in the same life every day, Tony Robbins says, you could change now. You could change in an instant. He always does that snapping his fingers stuff. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not a big Tony Robbins guy. Like, Tony Robbins says a bunch of things that you already know. Oh, you can't get mad. You can choose to be happy right now. It's like, yeah, I could, but then something else bad could happen. So I don't know, man. I don't know, man. And I don't know, man. Like, the Tony Robbins thing, it's not my favorite. It's not my favorite, But a lot of that goes with, maybe I'm biased towards Tony Robbins, because I just don't like him in general. He has a story in there. He talked about the guy who died at one of his seminars or whatever. He talked the guy back to life. Like, come on, brother. Come on, brother. You think we believe that? Okay, man. But those are the books I read last year, man. Forgot to put khaled in there. But yeah, those are the books I read last year.